Hello, my name is Matt.
My name's Robin.
And this is Which is Greater, a new board game show where we look at two great games on a similar theme and ask which is better. Greater. Which is greater. Yeah, because I got this golden greater to give to the greatest. But it's a pun.
Today we're looking at two of the best city building games on the market, the clever and clean looking Quadropolis and the dry and tedious looking Suburbia.
Oh, whoa, no biasing the audience.
If you didn't want to bias the audience, you should have got a better looking box.
Oh, it is on.
That looks stupid on you.
Okay, so I can't really disagree with Robin on how Suburbia looks. It has an art style that's perhaps best described as a school lesson on land management, but it's what's on the inside that counts. And there, Suburbia really starts to shine. Suburbia gives you your own little suburb and asks you to expand it into a glorious place where everyone wants to live. To do that, you're going to need to buy these tiles from over here and add them, expanding steadily like so. But there's no such thing as a free slaughterhouse in this game, and you need to carefully manage two key resources tracked on your funky set of battlements here. One is your income, and the higher it is on this track, the more money you will receive each turn, letting you buy more expensive and more lovely tiles like the fancy restaurant. Ooh. The other is your reputation, how nice your suburb is, and the higher this is, the more people will want to move in. And that's great because people are points.
That's still stupid. Quadropolis is nowhere near as vulgar in its view of people. Instead, you score points, because in board gaming everything is about points, depending on how well laid out your city is. So the different tile types, be they ports or parks or factories or houses, score depending on where you've put them and what they're next to. For example, parks score best when they're surrounded by lots of cute little houses, but houses score best the higher you build them, and you sell off those coveted skyline views. This means that Quadropolis is less about resource management and more about puzzling out the best layout of tiles. And Quadropolis does everything it can to crank its puzzle all the way up to 4. Because Quadropolis. So here we are in Quadropolis' grand building market, where all the buildings are sold. Listen.
Get your tower blocks, juicy, delicious tower blocks, right here, right now.
Amazing authenticity. Much like in Suburbia, you'll take one each turn and add it to your own little city quarter, but the way you do that is very different. So each player gets their own little pet architects, numbered from 1 to 4, and each turn you'll send them scampering off to the building market to fetch you a tile, just like in real life. So I go here and I get 1, 2, 3, a lovely little port. Now the other player comes in, but they can't place on the same spot. It's a cutthroat world for architects. Even worse, there's this guy, the big black bell end of bureaucracy. So he gets plopped down where your tile was taken from, and you aren't allowed to even point your architect directly towards him.
Suburbia also models bureaucracy, but in a very different way. As people flock to your city, your little score marker here is going to start crossing these red lines on the score track. And for each one they do, you're going to lose 1 income and 1 reputation, as your efficient little town gets gunked up in the literal red tape of bureaucracy.
Matt, I hadn't finished. You see, even once you have managed to get a tile that you want, you still have to place it somewhere in your city, and once again, that depends on the architect you used. So if you use the number 2 architect, you have to place it somewhere in the row or column 2 of your player board. All of these restrictions make finding the perfect tile seem nightmarish, and yet it does happen, regularly, making you feel like a proper genius.
You done?
For now.
Good. Suburbia offers up its own puzzle of construction. Each tile you add will in some way modify the 2 resources you care so much about, your income and your reputation. But those tiles also care about what else is in your city, particularly what it's placed next to. So each turn becomes this puzzle of where do I place this new tile for the maximum benefit, but also what do I want to get next to make the most of what I've put down. You also care about what your opponents are doing. And if you ever notice something in the market that you think, they really want this one, you have the option of the ultimate dick move. Take that tile, bulldoze it into a lake, and put it in your own city, getting you some petty cash and the pleasure of their frustrated cries.
In Quadropolis, this kind of hate drafting doesn't really work. Certainly you get in each other's way, but actively stealing stuff the other players want may just end up harming you in the long run. So in that way, Quadropolis is the nicer game. Just focus on building the city you want.
What are you being nice again?
No?
The brilliance of Suburbia, though, lies not in its clever mechanics, nor in the simple pleasure of picking up a tile and placing it in the right spot, although God knows that is ridiculously satisfying. Instead, it comes out in the story that your suburb tells. See, each tile's special rule all makes a kind of stunning sense. You can buy landfill, for example. It increases your income because all the other cities want to build there, but obviously no one wants to live next to it, so you end up building it on the other side of a lake, which is great, apart from then your lovely little suburb has a giant island of trash in one corner. You end up building schools next to airports. You open a fancy restaurant only for it to start losing money when everyone else opens newer ones. Every suburb you build in this game tells its own unique story, and that is fantastic. In this context, you start to realize that the box art that we were so mean about earlier is an intentional throwback to that sense of 1950s optimism, when living in a suburb was something wonderful and aspirational, long before today's societal malaise had set in. But Suburbia is a game of today, with all of today's cynicism and hindsight built into its cardboard DNA. It is a great game.
The brilliance of Quadropolis, on the other hand, lies in its wonderful puzzle. The limited number of tile types means you can fully grasp the scope of that puzzle at one go, but the different ways in which they score means you'll be pulled in multiple directions at once. That's not even to mention how you also need translucent little plastic people and rods to make your tiles scoreable, or that controlling the order of play is also important. But the fact is that Quadropolis is never too hard to understand because it all stems from the simple system of picking up a tile, meaning all you have to worry about is making the perfect move. But you're never going to get a perfect run, and that's where things get funny. Each round you might see someone going, "Oh god, I don't want a stupid shop, but that's all they can get." Or, "Oh no, I don't want to place that there." And it only gets worse as your city fills up and problems compound and you have the beautiful realization that you've made a horrible, horrible mess and it's all your fault. Then there are the times that things go wrong, but you pull it back, adapt, fill that shop with people and stick a factory next to it to score points, and that's when the amazing feeling of success comes in. Quadropolis is a wonderfully clever and tight puzzle that will keep you enthralled for game after game after game, especially since there's an expert mode which gives you a brand new bigger board, a few new tile types, and mixes up the architects, making that already great puzzle even bigger, tighter, and more compelling, just like my trousers during a game of Quadropolis. It's a great game.
So that's two great games, but which is greater? I mean, obviously it's Suburbia.
No, it's Quadropolis.
It's Suburbia.
Quadropolis.
Suburbia.
Quadropolis. We need a better way of deciding which is the greater game.
Arm wrestle.
No. Let's look at the games as what they're trying to be. So, city building games. How much do you feel like you're trying to build a city when you play it?
I mean, in Suburbia, quite a lot. I mean, you're laying out the tiles and growing the city, there's the interaction between the different areas of it, and you're managing the economy, you know, how the population grows, and you want to keep it looking nice. I think you've driven up a bit of a blind alley with this one.
Not really, because Quadropolis is more about the physical planning of a city. It's about utilization of space. It's about putting the best tiles in the best places, and it achieves that elegantly, without a million different tile types.
Yeah, but the different tile types is what gives Suburbia its humour. It brings out the details. It's not just Tower Block 3 next to Factory 2.
But that does come at a bit of a gameplay cost, because you can't really plan ahead in Suburbia, which is a bit ironic in a game about city planning. In Suburbia, you're picking the best thing from the market you can. It's very tactical, and you can't know what is going to come out of those stacks.
Whereas in Quadropolis, you can see the whole scope of the puzzle from the very beginning of the game, which means you can aim for something longer term, whether it's going port heavy or maximising parks.
Yeah, but Suburbia, it's more about the positioning of your tiles and thinking about what you might want to get in the future to maximise what you've already built. Plus there's the goal cards.
Yeah, but let's be honest, they're only there because the core of the game lacks a long-term strategic aim.
But, I mean, Quadropolis still comes down to what can I fit here that'll get me the most points, especially in the final rounds. I don't think Quadropolis is that much better of a game, even if you ignore the theme.
But it has an amazing insert.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. We are not picking a winner here based on the insert.
Just because Suburbia has an empty cardboard box where the insert should be.
That is a metaphor for the hollow emptiness you feel living in a dreary suburb.
Anything bad or cheap about Suburbia, you say, is a critique of suburban living.
Yes. Yeah, and there's a point to that, okay? And it's about theme. So Suburbia offers both an engaging mechanical puzzle and integrates it with a compelling theme. All right? That by itself is a huge achievement. So few games manage that. But then Suburbia manages to do that in a funny way. It's incredible.
So I guess we need to think about what greatest even means, because they are both great games.
Yes, I love Quadropolis, right? It's got a great puzzle, but Suburbia has just as engaging a puzzle, but then adds in all this theme and amusement.
So you're saying it achieves more with its design?
Exactly. I think a game that is able to integrate theme and mechanics together is always going to do better than one that just does one or the other.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I guess that means we give the Golden Greater to Suburbia.
Hi all, thanks so much for watching Quadropolis vs Suburbia.
We think that Suburbia deserves the Golden Greater, but do you agree with us? Please let us know what you think in the comments below.
And please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and maybe share it with your friends if you've enjoyed it.
And if you really like it, then tune in next week when we'll be comparing First Martians with Robinson Crusoe.
So until then, bye!
Bye!